Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the DVC Show, coming to you from the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined at the table this week by my good friends Paul Krieger.
Hey, everybody.
Amy Krieger.
Hello.
Sue Saunders.
Hi there.
Our producer, Mr. John Sakari.
Hello, everyone.
And that's it. That's it. That's your team. That's your team.
Whether
the way
you
I
like
said
us or
John's name, it was like there was going to be somebody else after me.
And blank chair.
An empty chair. So there it is. Just a reminder, folks, this show, along with all the DVC content we produce, brought to you by the world of DVC. That includes Sue Saunders over at DVC Resale Market. She can help you with the purchase of a DVC resale contract. That includes Paul Krieger at dvcrentalstore.com. I don't know why you're not switching to these people as
I usually when you're talking, I don't, but I will for the quick. Here, let's go back to Sue.
Let's go back. There's Sue Saunders.
We already introduced them.
There's Paul Krieger from dvcrentalstore.com, where you can rent out your points, or
That is like
you
the
can rent
worst
points.
facial expression.
Where you can rent out your points. If you have points that you're going to lose if you don't use them, you can rent them out. Or if you want to take a cruise or do an ABD or something like that, great way to use your points for that through dvcrentalstore.com. And, of course, the crack dealers of the DVC world, the ones who make it so easy to finance your DVC resale purchase, Ms. Amy Krieger, over at monerafinancial.com. So that's the world of DVC. And I hope that they love that I call them the crack dealers of the DVC world.
I did talk to a client one day, and they were like, I feel so bad that they call your wife a crack dealer all the time. And I'm like,
She's okay with it.
It sells contracts.
We get a lot of people like to joke about it, so it's funny.
Yeah, that's my job. Put those little earworms out into the world. So, okay, this week we are going to talk about some of the more popular DVC booking tips that we've learned over the years. And Paul has put together a list.
I will not take credit for that. My lovely wife, Amy, put together a list. But so we know that as members, it can be very challenging when it comes to booking that ideal trip that you're looking for. You know, in your head, your family decides, oh, I want Animal Kingdom Lodge. I want the Value Studio. I can only spend this number of points. Like you put together that perfect trip, but it becomes very difficult when it comes to planning and booking that trip. Mm-hmm. And so we thought we'd just sort of, go around the room a little bit and talk through, some of the more popular tips that are out there that might help you in that booking process. So the first one that we have, and we say it all the time, buy where you want to stay. Right. And that's because that first thing that you should be doing with any vacation is booking at the 11-month window.
Yeah. So this is actually a lot of people that are new to DVC and they want to book at a different resort. They will not think about that, and they'll kind of skip the 11-month window since, I'm not booking at Animal Kingdom even though I own there. I'm going to try to book for something else. But then that 7-month window opens up and maybe you don't have the availability that you want. So what you should always do if you are ready at the 11-month window is you should always book your home resort. That way you have a stay regardless of what happens. And then from there at the 7-month window, you can modify that reservation and you can try to grab a different resort. But definitely I say always book your home resort. That should be the consolation prize. If you don't get the other resort, it should be somewhere that you like, that if you have to stay there, if you can't move resorts, then you're happy staying there. So that's why that home resort window is important, but you should also just take advantage of it if you are planning in advance.
And definitely buy where you want to stay. As Paul had said, you really need to buy the resort you want to stay in. It might be a little bit more expensive, but that's your home resort. You have that 11-month booking window to be able to stay there. I know too many people who buy Vero Beach or Hilton Head because the prices are low, even though the dues are high, but they'll wait and book the 7 months out, and then they call and say, how come? I can't get what I want. I can't get 4th of July week, or I can't get Christmas week over at the beach club.
Yeah, this is especially true if you're traveling over periods like 4th of July or Christmas, New Year's. These are historically the ones where if you don't book them in 11 months, you're not getting them. So that's important to keep in mind.
Yeah.
And also, it's the room that you book is also important. The studios will go first, and then you see the studios and the 3-bedroom grand villas tend to go next. It's because you have multiple generations staying, so they get the 3-bedroom grand villas, or the studios because those are your lowest number of points,
Right.
and that's where people want to go. So you have to be cautious about those. Grand Floridian, for one, if you're looking for a 2-bedroom or a 1-bedroom, you've only got 47 of each one of those. So even if you own there and you try and book 11 months in advance, it could be hairy.
It can be hairy.
And I think this really piggybacks with our second one, which is modify at 7 months if available. And I think it's important to look at both of these together as we emerge from the past 2 years. So, just a couple months ago is when DVC relaxed that 50% borrowing rule and got us back to 100% borrowing. And the main reason, if you get the Disney Files magazine, this was explained a little bit in there in Bill Derrickson's section of the magazine. But, the real reason for that was because
Also known as Billy Pop Socket.
the inventory crunch that they knew they were going to face with so many points backdated into the system right now is real, and we're living through it right now. There is very little availability in that 0 to 7 month window. So, like Sue, to your point, those people with Hilton Head points, with Vero Beach points, with Alani points, those are flooding into the system too, because all those people bought at these other resorts but wanting to stay at Walt Disney World. Right. And so it's causing this just massive, issue. And I know coming from a DVC rental store perspective, we're seeing it a lot with, guest requests. Guests were not used to booking 11 months in advance. Most of our guests were used to booking into that 0 to 7 month booking window, and there's just nothing to book anymore. So it's changing that mindset, both members, as new members, you've got to get used to planning that vacation a year in advance. And for those people that are planning to rent points or, whatever you're going to do, planning that Walt Disney vacation needs to be sort of a year in advance process so that you can ensure that you're getting what you want in that. So, I think those two things relate. Hopefully it gets better, as we get further out from the pandemic and everything, and from those borrowing restrictions relaxing. But it's definitely sort of a crunch that we're in right now when it comes to availability.
But waitlisting is also a good tip for people, because even if you can't get what you want, try and waitlist, and you can have up to 2 waitlists at a time. And if you waitlist, keep in mind that there are a lot of people who will book the 11-month booking window, and when the airfares come out at 6 months, we start to see a drop in some cancellations, and then people will cancel all the way up to the 31 days in advance. Most people don't want to cancel after that because then the points go into holding and they've got restrictions on them. But if you're first on the list and wait list or on the top of the list, there's a good chance that you might get what you wanted.
I've had very good luck with my wait lists. I don't know if that's normal.
Yeah. We're about like 50-50, but the least amount of days that you can waitlist, the more likely it is to come through. So, waitlisting like a 4-day stay as opposed to a 7-day stay, you are more likely to get, the 4-day stay. And then a lot of people will ask on DVC Fan when they go to waitlist something, like what's the best resort to waitlist or what's the best room category to waitlist. And there are things to weigh out there. For example, if you're just trying to get to Disney World, then resorts like Saratoga, Old Key West, Animal Kingdom, those have a lot more inventory. Or if you're just looking at, I want to stay at Boardwalk, well then the Pool Garden View has a lot more inventory than like Boardwalk View or the Standard View. So those are all things to consider also when you're trying to enhance the likelihood of success of your wait list. And if you're ever looking for, a question specific, resort, what should I wait list, what category, DVC Fan the Facebook group is always really, really helpful when it comes to that. So, just ask on there and you're likely to get a pretty good answer.
The next one on the list, flexible dates. So, this is something that Amy and I have always done, even before we lived here. But when we looked at vacationing, it was never saying, okay, this is my week. It was always sort of looking at DVC availability and what was going to work with us. Obviously, we had a game plan in mind going into it, but I would always sort of caution you from sort of locking yourself, if you can, with your job and with other things, with your family and kids and camps and all that kind of fun stuff. But if you can be flexible in your dates a little bit when booking, that's going to provide you a little bit more of an opportunity to maybe get that resort or that room category that you're looking for. So,
yeah. And that's what happened with us when we booked our Grand Cal stay. So we booked it at 7 months, and we actually started, earlier, trying to book earlier in August, and we were just not successful. So we have to keep, we had to keep shifting that date until finally we were able to get it. So if you are able to be flexible in your dates, that will help you some, as you try to get exactly what you're looking for. Because some dates are also, just easier to get than others are. So.
I don't really know what this one means that you wrote down, so I'm just going to defer to you.
Stalking the system.
Is that it?
No, I had skipped over one too. We'll come back to that. Stalking the system, though. Go ahead.
Everyone says that word, don't they?
Yeah.
Oh, so this is along the lines of waitlist. So obviously if you waitlist, the system's going to check for you, but the waitlist system isn't, it's not 100% foolproof. There's a lot of questions as to how it actually works. Like if it's manually processed by member services or how often it actually pulls inventory. But a really good tip for just finding something is we call it stalking the system. You get on and you check yourself and you check regularly. Basically the more you check, the more likely you are to find something. Don't maybe not obsessively, but I will tell you that we now live locally, so we don't plan as far in advance, and we decided I think in March to try to go for a weekend over Paul's birthday in April. We just wanted 2 nights. There was absolutely nothing available. We set a couple of wait lists, but then I started just checking the system regularly for those 2 dates, and First, there was nothing. Then a few days after checking, we found one day at one resort, one day at another resort. And then we kept checking, and then we were able to get both at Old Key West. And then eventually I was able to move both our days to Beach Club, which is, a really difficult resort to get into. So checking and stalking the system, it does work.
And that's how my wife became a stalker.
Crack dealer and stalker.
Oh, no. No, the one that I was going to come back to.
Crack dealer in the best sense of the phrase.
Of course.
The best crack dealer you can be, I guess.
Well, certainly the prettiest.
Thanks.
You had on the list, consider booking home resort as separate stays to modify only a portion of that reservation.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I just sometimes I just write down things.
No, I think I think I get what you were going here. It goes along the same lines that we were talking about with how that smaller wait list is going to come in. So if you book your home resort at 11 months, maybe book it if you're really eyeing something or you're open to that idea of a split stay, then you could book that as 2 smaller stays. So maybe a 4-night and a 3-night rather than a 7-night stay. And then when you get to that 7-month window, you can be flexible with one or the other and not risk losing the whole thing. Because if you have ever done sort of if you've ever done like a change at that 7-month window and you were to call DVC, they always give you this warning that, we're going to first have to release what you have and then grab the other thing that you want. And there's always this risk that I've never really seen it happen, but they always say, they always sort of give this caveat. I've never seen it happen, but you could lose both at the same time because someone else could be snagging that other inventory out at that moment. So this is sort of a way where you could
So people on DVC Fan like to share their stories of, when things don't go well, and I think I wrote that down because it was it was
Not our group.
A public forum?
it was a
On the
case.
internet?
Yeah.
That's how Disboards was born.
Really?
It was a case where, they booked maybe a 7-night stay at their home resort, and then they saw like 3 nights at Beach Club, and they're like, oh, those 3 nights are they're the first 3 nights of our stay. So I would like to make the first 3 nights of my stay Beach Club, and then we'll just have the rest at our home resort. And they would modify that. And what it does is it modifies you to the 3 nights at Beach Club, but then it cancels your whole 7-night stay at your home resort. So if you're thinking like, maybe I'm going to do a split stay, and that's how I'm going to more likely get into a different resort, then when you go to book your home resort at the 11th month window, book it as 2 separate chunks. Right. Maybe if it's a 7-night stay, book a 4-night stay and then a 3-night stay. And then when you're looking to modify at 7 months, you can look to modify the 4-night to something else or the 3-night to something else. And then because they're smaller, you're more likely to get those stays. Yeah.
I feel like you're overly nervous for this show because your watch thinks you're doing a workout right now.
It turned itself on too. Normally it tells me I need to stand up.
It thought I was swimming at 2 a.m. the other night, so I don't know what that was about. But
I just move my hands a lot.
But split stays are good. Yep. I have a lot of people who like the split stays because they'll try and choose something that might be Animal Kingdom to see the animals, and then they want to be closer to the action. So it's something over the boardwalk or on the monorail line. And it works out pretty good. We've done split stays before. But it is true. If you book your home resort and you book a 3-night and then a 4-night at your home resort 11 months out, it is easier to get that split stay afterwards. If you do get the same resort and you have the 2 reservations, just ask them to link them together.
Yep. I've talked to, just gauging in talking to people on DVC Fan, I think people are pretty like 50-50 split on the split stay concept. So there's people that love it, like us. We did, there's content over on DVCFan.com where we did a 7-night split stay or 7 resort split stay back in 2020, I think it was. And then, there's people that just love that idea of unpacking at your resort and fully,
that being it.
Yeah, and that being your vacation. So it really depends on the person.
Getting back to the stalking, Amy and Paul, my question for you is, do we have any instance where we know that something was waitlisted, but it was still available? Like somebody checked it and it was available, but they're waitlisted and come in? I'm just curious if we know that the system hasn't worked like that.
Yes, that happens a lot, where someone will have something waitlist, they will continue to stalk on their own, and then they will find that stay on their own before their waitlist grabs it.
Okay.
It happens more than often than you think.
I would have thought that it was computerized, and that it would immediately go to the waitlist.
I think it's computerized, but I'm guessing that computer maybe only runs several times a day or once a day to really pull those things out of inventory. Whereas, if things happen in between those times, you can maybe see that in between. So don't know that as a fact, but I'm guessing maybe they just have it scraping a couple times a day or something of that nature. So
very interesting.
We talked about split stay, choosing a non-peak time for your DVC vacation. This comes right off the heels of Lauren De La Cruz, who writes for us over on DVCFan.com. She just did a great article about the perks of doing a stay in January. And January does seem to sort of, as we get into January, be a lesser known time. So is February, sort of that late winter time frame is an opportunity to maybe get into that resort that you're really looking for or something like that. I know we've done multiple trips in that time frame and I've always sort of had good success with all of that. So again, if you're flexible with your stay and all of that kind of stuff, but
as long as it's after the marathon,
as long as it's after
because
that
marathon week,
that first full weekend,
Yep. February too.
That's true across the board, not just DVC.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all Disney resorts.
Yep.
Book out marathon weekend. It's crazy.
Yep. But it's a special time too. Like there's lower wait times usually during those periods. Most people haven't experienced the Festival of the Arts, but I honestly it's like one of the festivals that are like near and dear to my heart because it's one of the first full festivals we ever experienced at Epcot. You know, they amazing artwork throughout that festival, some cool food opportunities and things like that. And,
For DVC too, like summer, especially because summer points are higher and it's hot, you know, but that is like an easier time to get into a lot of the resorts also. Because when I was a teacher, we would come in the summer a lot, and that's how we got to try a lot of the resorts was by booking in the summer and being able to switch a little easier at the 7-month window.
Yep. And last but not least, try a lesser booked resort. I can't say this enough, but if you've never tried Old Key West or Saratoga Springs, you've got to get over there.
I think, you know, probably should have done this in the unpopular opinions one. I think Saratoga Springs is so underrated.
Yeah, that actually was a couple people had written that as an unpopular opinion. I agree. We love Saratoga and Old Key West.
Yeah, and both of those have gone through recent refurbishments. They are just absolutely gorgeous, and you know they're the epitome of, in my eyes, where I would go if I was doing just a resort only stay. Because if you really just wanted to unwind and get away from the crazy theme park atmosphere or something like that, go to one of those resorts. If you're not going to be doing stuff on property, if you're going to be going elsewhere, so if you're going to be spending more time at Universal or SeaWorld or you name it, just exploring the Orlando area more.
And we've talked about this, that, you know, more and more right now, DVC members are using their DVC points to stay on Disney property, but they're not going into Disney parks. They're going to Universal.
Right.
Can't get the annual passes right now at Disney, so most people are looking to take their money elsewhere.
And I think people are discovering that Universal has a lot to offer.
Yeah.
I love Universal. I love Universal.
And even SeaWorld.
And SeaWorld. I was just at SeaWorld last night for their Howl's Scream. And I got to tell you, it was phenomenal. We had such a great time. So, you know, especially for members who, and I want to do really like next round, I want to do a separate show on this. You know, we come a lot, you know, members come to Orlando a lot. They come to Orlando a lot. And you might want to experience something new, something different. Orlando has a lot to offer. So I know I've really just completely hijacked that discussion.
No, that's true.
But I thought it was important to mention.
No, and and if
is.
you're going to be doing other things, sorry, Sue, around Orlando, you might as well stay where the points are cheaper, you know, like Old Key West.
Right. Get your accommodation. You still are on Disney property and everything. And if you do want to go into the park or you want to go to Disney Springs, that's great. But a lot of people now will just Uber it over to SeaWorld or over to Universal. And to me, SeaWorld, going there, the roller coasters are fantastic. The shows are great. And the food is less expensive and good.
I will tell you, speaking of shows at SeaWorld, last night we did Howl's Scream. And we watched, I forgot the name of it.
It's just, I know Stomp is in the word.
Stomp is in the name. It's a live show with live singing. They're not lip syncing. Was without a doubt the single best theme park show I have ever seen. And I'm comparing that to anything I've seen at Disney World. Disneyland, which can do pretty good. Disneyland Paris, Tokyo Disneyland. I never saw anything that good. The quality of the entertainers, the entertainment was...
Is it called Monster Stomp?
Yes.
Monster Stomp, that was it. Phenomenal show. And I'm like, if that's the caliber of entertainment at SeaWorld, they have really upped their game. Because I hadn't been to SeaWorld in a while. But I think SeaWorld is overlooked for what they have. Now, again, the coasters and stuff, I'm not going on. But my boyfriend was more than happy to do that last night. He by himself, because none of the rest of us were going on either. So he was just going on the coasters by himself, but he was having a blast. So...
Aw, I'll ride the coasters with him. I really want to go to SeaWorld now.
Oh, the coasters are fantastic.
Yeah, we've not been there
We've
yet.
not been there.
You've not been to SeaWorld?
No.
I went to SeaWorld in Cleveland, Ohio. Was it in Cleveland when they had a...
It was not Cleveland. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
When it was in Ohio. Yeah,
it was
I
up
did too.
near... What was the amusement park?
Geauga Lake.
Geauga Lake. Yeah. So I went to an Ohio SeaWorld one.
Get a season's pass.
I bought
or an annual pass.
I bought a Baywatch CD. I don't know why. Like,
Oh, I
The
know
cover.
why.
it was just the music, though.
It was the cover. It was the cover.
This is way off the rails.
Yeah, we've
Yeah,
gone way off.
completely off the rails.
Yeah, but yeah. So those were any other tips out there in terms of booking or anything like that. I think we covered most of the list that was out there. This is a frequent question that we do see members ask, and so hopefully some of these tips will help you when you're booking the next stay on your next trip with your Disney Vacation Club membership.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. Those are some tips for booking your next DVC stay, and that will do it for this week's episode. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you again next week with another edition of the DVC Show. Have a great week, folks.